Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us here. And it's really my pleasure to present another one of the app webinars. This one is on how to make predictions really in general using ARV with the Wii protocol, but we're using Roulette as our example because that permits us to go through virtually all of the phases of ARV because it's very quick as opposed to having to wait for the outcome of a sporting event or a financial event. But I think you will see that these are easily generalized. What we're going to do here is easily generalized to that, as in fact we're doing in many of our groups. So what we're going to be doing in the next couple of hours, that's about how long these usually take, is an overview of ARV, Associative Remote Viewing, and then we will actually use, kind of learn by using, the Winning Entanglements online protocol. So we're actually going to get online to get coordinates, and you guys will be doing ARVing and making a prediction, and based on that prediction I'll actually get online and wager with real money in a roulette spin. So you'll get to see all of that. So that's what we're going to do. Now, associative remote viewing is really illustrated here with the three primary aspects, features, sessions. The fourth is the actual wagering, and we'll talk about that much later. But the remote viewing session starts it off, and then there's a judging session in linear time, but really precognition, associative remote viewing, begins in the feedback session. No matter how much I say it, and even myself occasionally, you sort of forget because we're so used to living our lives as we must in linear time in the physical world, and we think in linear time. But the fact is we can do, and it's a natural capability, precognition. And once you start getting into precognition, you realize that the future can share information with the past. Lynn Buchanan often will refer to this as remote influencing. So from the future, you're remote influencing your remote viewing session where you might be getting all the information concerning your remote viewing session. And in fact, that is your intention. The intention is to make a really good prediction in terms of your transcript that's going to be a good match with your feedback session. The judging is wearing an entirely different hat, and we'll talk a lot about that because we're going to do it. The judging is very important. In many ways, believe it or not, it's the most difficult because the remote viewing session, you cool down, you become a witness to the information from the feedback session, and you just do it as a receiver. Anyway, we'll say more about this and you guys will be doing it. The key thing in the way we're going to be doing associative remote viewing here is it's binary. There are two possible outcomes. We call each of those outcomes sides. We do this often with financial, where the two sides are up and down. We can do it for sports. We just came back from AppFest where we actually did all three of these, but mostly we focus on over-under, which are the total points in the game. The bookmakers, used to be called bookies, will set a line and you can go over under. Similarly with the favorite underdog with points or team A, team B, they set the odds, but you have two choices. You can go either way. They'll take a wager either way. In politics, we actually successfully predicted that Hillary would not be the next president, and we did that 9 months ago in a webinar just like this with a bunch of people, and that was the consensus. And then what we're going to focus on today is roulette. It could be red or black. You know, to be binary, you need to cover all the possibilities. Now, all of these can always be put in the form of a yes-no question. And that's the way we can think about this virtually all the time. For example, will the red wager win? Or you could ask the question, will the black wager win? It's very important to get that question gives you the answer about both red and black, since it's yes, no. Obviously, if you get a yes, then you would wager on red if it was a strong yes. If you got a no, you're just as certain, and you've got the same information, but now you would go on black. So yes, no questions cover virtually all of these, including something like, will Hillary be the next president, yes or no? So in associative remote viewing, setting up your intention and having that be not only intellectual, but deep in your gut, that what you intend to do is to create a remote viewing transcript for whatever your coordinate is. And you know, we use 6-digit coordinates. Some people call them transcript reference numbers. Whatever it is something which is really attached to your feedback target and the transcript. That's the attachment. And I always tell people, and this is what cool down is about, is to get into a good place where you feel comfortable, confident, you're feeling good about doing your session, you get into that place. And then the cue is very simple, actually. What you're doing once you accept precognition as a natural talent is really very simple. You describe and sketch your, and there'll be a 6-digit coordinate, and we'll get that online, your coordinate number, your feedback target, period. That is your intention. And notice feedback target. You're going to see millions of images. None of those matter. What matters for your remote viewing session is to connect up with your feedback target. And then you have your feedback session, where it begins. Here, your intention is important as well. Just as important, maybe even more important, because now you're going to be reviewing the truth of what happens. You will have in front of you this feedback target, and now is your time to both intend to entangle with, send information back. You can use lots of different words, but here is when you have the truth and you want to send the information back to the remote viewing session. So just like here, you want to do this when you're feeling good about it. That is really easy to do when you get a hit, harder and when you get a miss, but guess what? That's when you have more to learn. And that should in fact be part of your intention, to entangle the next time. I'm one who believes it only makes sense to get into this ARV precog work if you're in it for the long term. You know, one prediction doesn't really mean anything. You just want to keep learning, and indeed you can get better and better, and we see that all the time. And the cue here in this is a session, is to describe and sketch the same coordinate feedback target, but now you use your RV senses. It's not like you want to trace it exactly. You want to improve your RV senses, open up a communication channel. That's the way I talk about the way the information goes. It's like a communication channel through time. or it's entangled all at once. You can look at it in different ways, but in either case it is communication of information. And what you want to do here is use your RV senses. Oh, gee, you know what? I'm going to send back more colors because I didn't do it as well as I would like this time. And you use this feedback session to improve. Then you're done. Now, what is the target? It is the feedback photo site. Now let me indicate to you what a photo site is. That is your target. So it is indeed the feedback target. But what we're doing here, and we do this in app maybe 90% of the time, sometimes we have other kinds of targets, but almost always they're photo sites. A photo site is more than the photograph. The photograph is like a transfer point to get you to get your consciousness, move your consciousness to the site when the photo was taken. So that fixes the time and the place, and it has one other thing associated with it. It is the information which can be verified or easily inferred from the photo. So, I mean, if you go someplace and there's a lake a mile away, but there's no water in the picture, water is not a good match because you can't verify it. So it has sounds, smells, all the things you can pick up from being there, but has to be verifiable because you're or somebody's going to do the judging. And so that's what a photo site means. What's the target? The feedback photo site. Now, in addition to intention, getting into a place of positive expectation is really just as important. And, you know, you get to a place where you expect to get a hit. You expect to get a good description of this target. When you start doing your remote viewing session, you just work to get into that place, to get that feeling in you. Maybe you pick it up from other things that you did where you had real positive expectation. I mean, ultimately that expectation is almost taking for granted you're going to get a good hit. I know that's what Joe McMonagle does, and he's not 100%, but he just goes and does it with the expectation he's going to do very well. Hey, the ultimate feeling is what's your expectation about the sun coming up tomorrow? You know, you just sort of take it for granted. And building that feeling over time is part of what we should be doing here. So building up that expectation is really important. Same cue, but during your cool down, this is a good time to get that positive expectation feeling going. And during the feedback time, obviously, again, when you get the hits, you know, oh, that felt good. I expected it. Here it is. Confirmation. When you get a miss, that expectation, this is the challenge of what we're doing. Hey, if we never got misses, we'd be done. We'd be in a new world with a new paradigm where precognition works almost all the time. None of us are there yet. None of us are 100%, not even our best viewers. You know, they're up at 75%, say. So nevertheless, you work this expectation at the level of knowing that you're going to get and expect to get better and better over time. So you're not only doing and strengthening the expectation for the previous one, which is not going to change. You are working to set up in your subconscious this whole communication channel for future predictions. Now, let's I don't know if there are any questions on that, but let's go forward with this in terms of an example. your coordinate, your transcript reference number, is associated with your transcript and one of the sides and the feedback target, right? Because that's what this is supposed to describe in Sketch. Now let's say that we're going to use the example in the online program where red is going to be associated with one coordinate. This is obviously a fake coordinate and a fake transcript. So in that case, what we have is basically the question, which is, will red be the winning wager? That's the equivalent question, just like red. Now we say black, since this is binary, it's really red or not red. We will associate black with green, and I think I say that someplace else. So you do have to cover all of the possibilities. So it's really red or not red. Now, if red wins, you will see one of the photo sites. This is where the judging and the association comes in. But if black wins, you're going to get the other photo site. Now, let me make this really, really clear. The computer not only randomly associates this coordinate, as you're going to see when we do this online, but it chooses two photographs that have been prepared to be different. We have 800 of those. It chooses one of those pairs randomly and randomly switches them so one is associated with what will be the yes that you will see if the answer to the question is yes, and one that you will see if the answer to the question is no. Okay, so if red wins, you're going to see this one in our example here. If no wins, you're going to see if not red wins, okay, that's no, you're going to see this picture. And you will always see what actually happens. That's inviolable. We'll never change that. Separate from anything else that happens, one thing you know for sure is you will get the feedback associated with the correct association which the computer made. And that's important because of judging. You're now, and let's look at this. Let's look at these transcripts and let's go through a pretend session here. Here's a transcript. You can see both of these. People. Well, I don't see any people there, but I see people here. Vegetation. Oh, I see no people there, but I see, no vegetation, and I see vegetation there. Sketches of people, hot. This obviously was a setup to make the judging really easy, right? So in this case, we would judge that this was a no. And so we would then, and you'll see in the online way how you have an opportunity to do that, you say no. So the computer does yes or no, as I said, and the good match gives the prediction. So we would then go ahead, and in this case, because it's so strong, I would wager on the no, and hopefully that would happen. And I'd make some money. However, if the yes went, if red actually came up, your feedback target would be this one, and you'd be faced with a miss. That's associative remote viewing. Most people, when they get transcripts like this, most of the time they get hits, and black and I'd wager on it. That's the only reason we do this, because we have so many statistics that show that. And as I said, the best viewers can be good 70%, 75% of the time. They can have runs of 80%. They're not perfect, then they have misses. Okay. So feedback is based on the actual outcome. Now, any questions now, because the next step is we're actually going to do it. So let me pause here. I'll look at the chat box, or you can turn on your mics. And okay, so people sort of get it. You know, intellectually, it turns out everything that I just said to you is to satisfy your left brain, the intellect. It turns out the remote viewing is all right brain, and you can forget all that when you do your remote viewing. Okay, let's do it. Now, this is the cue. Describe and sketch your 6-digit coordinate, which we're about to get. Already, since we're getting close to doing this, start setting your intention to get a good match and begin feeling really good that you're going to get a good match. You know, things are just right, you're relaxed, this is all going to work, and now we're going to do it, and we're going to do it online. So I am going to go now to my email. Okay. The way we do things online, there's a group manager that sends out an email to everybody in their group. And this is an example of that. So I sent this out to our webinar workshop people, okay, to you. And here we are. And this is typical. I'm about to click here. Notice it has the dates. The group manager puts in, often there are times, specific times here, but for this workshop, you know, we're going to be doing it right now in real time. So the next step is to simply click here. Now, with the groups, and I hope all of you are already in groups or will join groups, and we can make that happen very, very quickly, each viewer will get their own independent coordinate and their own prepared targets. So they will not have the same targets. In our case here, since all of you are not keyed into this particular group, and also for the educational value, I am going to put in just my name, and you're all going to watch me do exactly what you would do. Okay, so I am going to be the one who will go through this in detail, but all of you are going to do remote viewing sessions, and we will judge them all together, but they all will be on whatever coordinate we now get. So that everybody will be using the same coordinate here. So that's actually the only difference from what you can do generally. Now, I actually usually encourage 2 coordinates for one person because it gives them 2 chances on the same question. Well, one question would be yes, the other question would be the no part. But nevertheless, here what we're going to do is just 1 coordinate. And when I click this, so that's all there is to it. You put in your name, very easy. You click whatever group you're in. Right now we're the webinar workshop group. I'm going to be doing 1 coordinate. And if you're brand new at this, that's probably how you should start. And now I click. There you go. So, and again, this is all online, happening real time. Information is going to our server. And why don't you now get out a sheet of paper. The coordinate, here, let me make it bigger so you can see it. The coordinate number is 962634. 962634. That's a kind of a beacon. I don't know if I'm going to have time at the end here to talk about beacons, but the coordinate is just like a beacon. It gets you into where you want to go, which in this case is the feedback target. It's kind of like a telephone number. When you dial this number, the number itself has no meaning, and yet it is, the intention is for you to talk to somebody at the other end. A specific person, or maybe you'll get a family member or whatever, but it rings where you intended to ring. Well, this is that kind of beacon. And to make it stronger, I actually recommend that you maybe say it out loud because it vibrates through your body, and then you'll say it out loud at feedback target time when you do your feedback session. So you can use this to enhance your intention, and you know you're going to be able to say it again out loud. You're going to be writing it again during your feedback time. You'll be tracing over the numbers. Get all of that into your mind with your intention and expectation. Okay, so after we get the transcripts, the normal approach is you just simply upload it to the server, and then you'll see the two potential targets. But now we're doing the remote viewing. Describe and sketch your 962634 feedback target. So let me go back. I want to do a brief cool down for you. Here's what we're going to do now. Now, some of you who maybe have more experience want to turn off your speakers and or not listen to me, and you're welcome to start. You have the coordinate now, 962-634. You've written it on your top of your sheet. What I'm about to do now is put your name and date on the right as typical. We're going to do a short 5-minute remote viewing session. The first 5 minutes often gives a lot of the information. Remember, what we're doing here is for education. On the other hand, believe it or not, I'm going to feel comfortable in wagering because 5 minutes is enough. At AppFest, we gave 15 minutes, but I don't think we have enough time to do everything I want to do here. So now you're going to get 5 minutes. I'm going to give you a cool down, a short one to just get you quiet and into the place where your communication channel is as open as it can get right now. And at the end, I'm going to say 4, 3, 2, 1, describe, and then just become a witness and do your remote viewing, and you will get information from your feedback target and from your feedback session. Now, Joe McMonagle, okay, as you're settling in here, getting ready to do your cool down, Joe McMonagle feels that 75% of the discipline. That's a quote from him. And basically what he means is this is when you open up that communication channel and get ready to receive the information from your feedback session. So let's do that. Why don't you close your eyes, get comfortable, begin focusing on your breathing. Put your attention there. Let go of the outer world. Leave the day-to-day thoughts behind. Just relax. Let the outer world and those connections just float away. Just relax. Become more aware of the quiet of your inner world. Just relax. Any chatter, just let it float away. Just let it leave you. Find that quiet, peaceful, safe place inside you. It's a sanctuary place. Your communication channel with your subconscious is opening more and more. This is the submerged consciousness that's connected to everything. In particular, to your feedback target 962634. Move there. Move your consciousness to your feedback session and the feedback target. Relax. Witness what your sub provides. Four, three, two, one. Describe. 1 minute left. Go get another perception or two. Okay. Come on back to your normal state, at least as normal as we get. Physical world. And I would put either end or EOS for end of session at the bottom of your transcript. You've now completed your remote viewing session. Congratulations. How did the 5 minutes feel? You're okay with it? You all got information? Okay, good, Joan. Thank you. Okay, and as I said, in many ways, it's the easiest and the normal way of thinking of things. There's nothing complicated about it. You're a witness. You are in your left brain just enough to get something down on a piece of paper, and you're doing the communication with your right brain. Right. You just let it flow. Very good. Thank you, Ricky. And that's what you did. Now let's talk about the analysis judging for real. Now, analysis judging comes down to which is the best, I would have to say good. I want to say good match. I think you see my little owl here. And that's what you have to do. This is mostly intellectual, though there's a bit of intuition into it, and a period. That's the way it works. It turns out that John Herlosky gave a very nice presentation, which I think I'm going to have him give in our June meeting as well, something like it, where he actually is open to receiving information from the feedback session itself to the judging. This is really a brand new concept. So that's the kind of intuitive information which might influencing your judging. Develop that. You just have to be open to that, but I think also be careful because it's something which he's doing. Anyway, let me now make what is a key point I always make, and that is the translation from the feedback session through the communication session, through the communication channel, that transfer of information, that entanglement, however you want to look at it, goes through your whole psyche. And at least none of us are perfect with that. And often it uses analogies, often it gets close, and I think the best way to make my point here is to show this cartoon which explains what it is not. This is how a skeptic would do judging. And so he sets up the remote viewing session. I alone know the contents of this envelope, and here's our remote viewer. And he says it's a charcoal drawing of a woodchuck eating a small orange. And the skeptic says, Nice try, you little fraud, but that's a long way from an ink drawing of a beaver eating a tangerine. So hopefully you get the point. You know, if in your session you draw something that's round and you say some fruit or other and the target happens to be an orange, give yourself some credit. Give yourself some credit. And you'll see other things like that where you say, and this is one of the marvelous things about what we're doing here, you begin to learn how your subconscious communicates. In many ways, you can view this as building up a language between your subconscious that has access to everything and your intended and expected and asked it to give you information about something specific, and it responds. But it needs to respond in a language which both ends have to understand. That's what language is all about. So the subconscious has its language, and it is in fact working to communicate that information, but it goes through this communication channel. So what I want to do now, and then I'm going to give you some specific ideas how to do it, and each of you will be judging. But now we need to go back online. Remember this? This is where you got your page, and this is just what you would do at home in any one of our groups. You would go here, you've got the coordinate, you would do your remote viewing session, and now you would have to upload from your computer. And in this day and age, everybody seems to know how to do this. We used to get a lot of questions a few years ago, but now everybody's got a smartphone, or they use a scanner that they had for one reason or another. So first you bring it into your computer, and then you upload it here. So you find your transcript on your computer, and you upload it to our server. So we actually have a record of it. Also, it shows it's fully precognitive. And what I am going to do is, since I don't do these sessions, I'm going to put in just a dummy transcript. But you, of course, would put in your actual transcript now. And that's the only difference from what you would do normally. Again, we've done everything we know how to make this user-friendly. Those are hackneyed words, but that's what we've done. And if anybody has ideas to make it even simpler, we're open to it. But to us, this seems pretty simple because we do want, and your group manager will want, the transcript. Then we hit submit, and as soon as we hit submit, we're going to see one of the targets. There you go. So you remember we had a yes and no with photo site A and B? Well, this is our, and all of you, since you have the same coordinate, this is photo site A. Now I'm going to do something which I've been doing personally more and more. We're in an area now where later when you're by yourself, you may want to do it differently. And in fact, 6 months ago, I recommended that you would take your transcript and first judge it against this one and then judge it against photo site B. And you can bring up photo site B simply by clicking here. This is hot and this is hot. But what I'm now recommending is that you actually, since you're going to end off seeing them both, and remember, this has got nothing to do with your remote viewing session. You have to remember that. You're not, these are one of lots and lots of images you're going to see. And so I'm now going to show you, and I actually believe this is a good idea, so your subconscious, which is very curious, doesn't have to peek, because it does have access to this information. And we know that from the times when we did independent judging, the remote viewer would sometimes go, for whatever reason, to the wrong picture, and he would never see it. He or she would never see it. And the only way he could have gotten it was from the judge's mind who saw it, put it down into this, I call it a universe of collective consciousness, and the subconscious was curious and went to it and described it. So this is the other picture. And what I want to do is get them both up here at the same time. And I can do that by doing this. Okay. And then let me go back here and bring this up here. So this is photo site A. This is photo site B. You've got your transcript, and now let me show you, let me go back here, and I want to talk about specific approaches for doing the analysis judging, which is right where we are now. The so you've got a transcript. This happens to be an example from a 5-page transcript. I've just put 1 page on there. One approach which is used a lot is to directly count matches, where they will put a yes or a no, a 1 or a 0 against every single precept. And for images usually have different aspects to them, and they'll judge each of those aspects by giving a yes or a no. Yes, it matches that particular precept, or no. Joe McMonagle adds that, and then you can count these up and see if one is more dominant than the other, and make some decisions. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. You know, in the ideal situation, one picture matches much more than the other. And some of you probably from seeing both pictures already have a sense of that, but I believe you should go through this all the time, because you'd be surprised how you might miss something. Now, Joe McMonagle adds that 50% of his judging is actually based on gestalts. Gestalts are those big picture things that you see at first when you look at a picture. You know, is there a big body of water? Is it a big mountain? Is it a big city? You know, they're just big picture things like that come up. Is there action? Is that the dominant thing that you're seeing? Is there noise? Is there, you know, there's just a dominant thing that comes up at the big picture level, and that's what you would call a gestalt. And then the other 50% goes back to this counting approach. Now, I want to give you a brand new approach, and I'm going to suggest you use it now and see how you like it. It's a little bit different, but it's clearly related here, because if you think about what the counting does, you ultimately compare both sides, both the counts that match photo site A and the counts that match photo site B. Now here's what I am now using with the people that I judge. I haven't given it a name yet, but I'm very happy with it. What you do, since you're now seeing both potential targets at the same time, you can go through your transcript once, where before you would go through and mark all for A, yes or no, and then for B in a different color, yes or no. Now you can go through each precept and do the following. If there's no flat, and in this target there was no flat in either one, or frankly both, but in either case, since it's balanced, I don't want to give any credit to either one of those, so I wouldn't put anything. Here there was motion, and that was clearly related. Remember, this is an example for another coordinate entirely. We're intellectual here. This was strong, and there was strong action for A. It was very clear. I gave it an A. Here, I happened, and I remember this one now. Here it said orange. Well, there was actually kind of a muted red and a lot of red. But you know what? Remembering the example I gave it a B, but a half a point. So that's what the half meant. You know, if I'm not quite sure what to do, but it was clearly leaning to that side, I gave it a half. And you can see here, I had a half, I had a half. Here was a clear up, here was a clear up for floating, you know, which sort of went along with like the motion and stuff like that. Here was one that was balanced, and this was mechanical, which was clearly a B. So on this page, you would lean towards A. It turned out with all the other 5 pages, it ended up being a strong B. This page happened to be an A, and I don't know why I chose it as an example, but I did. But this is an approach which seems to me to make sense. So I'm suggesting you look at your transcript. If it's balanced either with nothing or it's balanced where it fits both, which happens as much as we try to make them different, lots of times a specific word or sketch will match both of them. You don't do anything. And then you indicate whether it's a good match to photo site A or photo site B, and maybe leaning more towards B with a half point. Then you're going to be able to count up and then put on your page how many points you have for A and how many points you have for photo site B. So having said that, let's go back here. So why don't you do that now? And then we'll in fact, I'm going to have you do something very different. Okay, so you're doing that now. Put this over here. Put the snipping tool here. Okay, and I'm going to put A count, B count. You know, I think I'm going to do, and then here I'll just simply put A minus B. Well, I can do that. Okay, let's not worry about that now. Okay, so some of you are probably done. This has to be done independently, and usually I have everybody put it in the chat box only to the organizer, but I'm not going to do that now. You're all adults. I'm going to trust you judged yours your own way, and it's valid. And when it comes to wagering, and I really emphasize this, you should always support yourself. If you think you had a strong transcript, moderately strong transcript on a side which happens to be different from everybody else, you should go that way because you're supporting your communication channel, yourself at both ends. You're saying, I'm trusting myself. And guess what? Lots of times it might in fact go that way. Okay, so let's give the A and B and why don't you put it in the chat box and I will enter it here, and this will allow you to check me in real time. So how many precepts did you get? Okay, 5 and okay, so Ricky got 5.5 and 3.5. Again, if I type it wrong or something, you let me know. Hector got 3 and 5. Three and 5. Okay, Suzanne just said she saw a B, so I don't know what to do for her, but let's get that before I lose that. So let me just guess and make it not too strong, but a 4 and a 2. Flowing, da-da-da. Okay, Hector I got, Ricky I got, Sean, a 1 and a 5.
Mine's 3 and a 5.
See, that's why I like to do it this way. Thank you. Oh, no, it says 1, but you really want it to be a 3. Okay, Sean, okay, wait. Okay, so Sean is a 1 and a 5. Richard, you said is a 3 and a 5?
That's right. So I'm on my phone, so I'm struggling
on the... You can't put it in. Okay, no problem. No problem.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to do it.
No way at all. We just would like to get filled out. Ken is a 2 and a 1.
You have the target scale up, the 1 to 7?
No, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do, this is not target scale. We're doing this differently. So I'm going to lead into the target scale.
I see.
So what I'm doing now is count, which is the way I do it. And then I make it equivalent to a target scale, which I'll talk about. But I really am happy with this count way. Okay, so Nuno did A of 1 and a 5. Again, all of these are independent. Joan is a 6 and a 3. I love it. And this is typical. Some go each way, and that's the way it is. Okay, for some reason I lost. Okay, that's okay, Hector. I've got your scores there. Okay, so is Giddy still here? And Aaron, did I miss them? Or at least let me know where you are. If you didn't do a session or you don't want to judge, but at least let me know what's going on. Or maybe you're still judging. Judging, as it turns out, even going element by element this, and some people, like this guy, had 5 pages of stuff, including sketches. It takes a while, and you need to take as much time as it takes. So Aaron wants to be skipped, so let me put a, you can't, I'll put a, well, here, I'll just put an asterisk for skipped, okay. And Giddy and Jocelyn. Looks like Jocelyn left. And Giddy, what would you like us to do? Okay, hello, this is my first time. I was leaning towards A. You don't want to do judging in terms of numbers. Leaning towards A. Okay, so first we said, how about, I mean, how many things did you put on your sheet of paper? And Giddy, it's your first time, it's okay. I do other sessions where the focus is on the remote viewing part. Okay, cool, Joan, but you managed to get 9 things down. You know, we call them precepts. And a picture might have multiple precepts. Giddy, just give me a rough estimate of what number should I put here. You're leaning towards A. Should I do 4 and 2 for you as well? Is that close? Did you have roughly 6 precepts? Did you put some words down? Or this is just a feeling overall? Okay, I'm going to do 4, 2. And we're going to look at things now. What I'd like you to do, especially Joan, who got 6, and Ricky, who got 5. In fact, anybody who wants to, so we can talk about it. And see, this is where the time is going to come in, because I really do stop you 2 hours or so. But those of you who would like me to discuss what you did, send in your transcript, email it to me. I think you all know my email address, but I'll put it here again. And we can talk about this and see how you felt this technique in fact worked. So let's go here. Yeah, you can see I have people in other groups who are actually putting in predictions. What did Richard say? On to go. Very slow. Okay, sorry. Okay. Okay, so I'm hoping that you will somehow be able to get your transcripts to me and then we'll talk about it.
I think mine come through.
You said yours? Okay, good.
Yeah, I just sent mine.
Okay. Who am I talking to? Who is that? I just didn't see who that was.
Richard.
Okay. Oh, you said you were slow. There you are. Okay, very good. Okay, excellent, Richard. Let me rotate that around, and I now have a way of doing that pretty efficiently. The Snagit is really a good program, and it's free. So it'll let me copy it, and then I can rotate it by 90 degrees. Whoops, rotated the wrong way. Let me go. Right, 180 degrees, and there it is. So now let's make it big. And now let's see if it's possible to get that and the images on there. And then we can all, in a very educational way, look at these and talk about it. Wait, it's this one and then that one. Well, that works. Okay. Except I have to not click on too much. Okay, so here you go. Very nice, Richard. So the A's, man-made, and you put a B in there as well. Now you see, and you could do it this way, which is fine. Maybe the way you looked at it. See, I would have left man-made blank, just simply because it's in both. It just makes it easier, in my opinion. But the way you did it is fine, because in fact it makes it clear which is in both pictures, and they basically cancel each other out.
I've got a lot of both in my drawing actually. It's
Now,
quite
wait,
difficult.
why did you say bright was A?
More the whiteness. I saw like a brightness there. So
Okay. Well, I'm looking at this, and I would say this is pretty bright too, with the flame. I'm giving you off the cuff, and I do that for better or worse.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
That's my downfall, I'm afraid. My judging's not been too good lately. So
Well, don't get over that. You're learning what it's doing. Your judging is getting better. Every time you do it, it just gets better because you notice things, and you might notice this at feedback and not even when you review your judging. Okay, horizontals, yeah, they both have it. Verticals, yeah. Boy, what does that say?
box. It says box.
Oh, box
shapes.
shape.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Boy, looking at this picture now, you can see you did pick up a lot of both, because I guess you'd say this is box shaped.
Huh.
But yeah, But that isn't the, yeah, I probably would have given B a half on that. You know, and all of you should be sort of making your own judgments, and in the chat box, if you disagree, uh, you know, let me, you know,
Can
you
you
should let
read
us
through
know, because this is opinion. When we do this, we find differences between different judges. That's rather natural.
Can you read through the words a little bit, Marty? I mean, they're well written. It's just a little bit small for me to.
Oh, make it bigger. How's that?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, flatness in A, but unfortunately I see, you know what? I considered these at first to be a pretty good pair, but you've picked out all the things, and I see this a lot with the viewers. You picked out a lot that's in both. I mean,
That's what.
right. Slope. I mean, I agree. And the subconscious will sometimes do that, especially since we're now paying so much attention to it. And you remember, you want to keep this left brain as much as possible. The white is clearly more A.
Like dark.
Yeah. White, dark, maybe the contrast, but there's certainly a lot of dark here.
Oh, yeah.
The dark is the shadow underneath the just the left of that drawing.
Oh.
So there's two boxes on the right
I see.
picture. There's like a bit of a black squibble. That was like darkness underneath what I was looking at.
And that's what, see, now this is one of the reasons I am a believer and even encourage self-judging now. Because a judge looking at that would not know that. You, in fact, could almost circle that as a unit when you did it. That was your feeling. I'm assuming. And then you
That is correct. That little bit to the right, that little drawing with those.
Right.
That's that little unit, like you say.
I would circle that as a judge and probably give that even more. Well, you did. The A was and dark was good. And you have two things, which is really, really, you know, quite good. On the other hand, of course, you've got the legs here. I would say you definitely went to both. But you probably did go to A a little bit more. See, they both have angles. You know, I may change this. Notice if I cut this off here, and all there was, and I can change these targets, and I'm always looking for people to send me suggested pairs, because I modify these when we find bad ones, and I think this one should go to just above his feet.
Agreed.
And then these would be really good target. That'd be a really good target then. Instead, you know, all of this is too much in common. Okay, so we did this. Richard, I mean, thank you. You know, I now also understand your numbers, and I would say
I was actually quite stressed while I was doing that, because I was trying to sort my leads out for my internet is all going wrong. So
yeah. Also, and you know what? When you judge, sometimes that's a factor, because what I found is stress, you'd think it would just add like white noise, but for some reason it seems to respond by going to the wrong one. You know, yeah, I've just seen that too often when people like are getting a divorce or there's a death in the family. They don't just get passes, they get a lot of misses. It's very strange, but maybe understandable.
How was this session judged? By the way,
Well, so far all we have are the A and B count. I'm going to talk, and I want to do this because that's the way each person will do it, and then I'm going to connect this with the TARG scale, which is also one of the standard things we do. So, but I don't want to do that yet, because when you go through this, you always do the judging first, and using various techniques, using the yes-no technique or whatever technique you use, then there's a transition to the TARG scale. Now, some people go right there. I grant you, they kind of use their intuition and do that, but I'm now suggesting we do more like this. And Richard wrote on here, somewhere you put the count for A and B, but you gave it to me anyway.
I'm not sure if it was the right way around. I'm not sure. I think I judge for B, but I can still see a lot of A now, so it's quite difficult.
You gave...
There's some words on there that you did not judge. Like, for instance, outside and angular don't have values placed to them. They're clearly relevant.
No, yeah, but if they're in both, what my
Yeah.
suggestion is, since they cancel each other, because I'm going to make a column here, which is A minus B, which is what really matters, right? And maybe even A minus B divided by the sum. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking for quantitative measures now as a judge.
Understood. I'm just saying that outside was not judged, and how do you, I mean, clearly the one is photo is outside, but photo A,
It's probably inside, right? So I would say I agree with you on that. In other words, let me just do this. I'll eventually do this. Okay, so that would be the percent difference.
I actually thought about doing a judging maybe a day after.
Yes,
transcript. So it's you're coming back with a different cap on it, as you say, sort of thing.
Yep, excellent. See, this is what this workshop, this webinar is just about, sharing thoughts like that with everybody else. Oh, and I see there are things in the comment box too. You know, this is all for learning, and that's right on. And I do agree. This is likely to be inside. I think you could say that. And so the where was the outside? Probably this should be A 1/2 maybe. I'm sorry, outside B 1/2, right? Because this is clearly outside. Well, is that
Marty? Can I ask you a question, Marty?
Sure, of course.
So when you see a session like this, which I really like this session, by the way. There's a lot of very interesting data. So when you see a session like this that has judging aside elements of both, so my mind just jumps straight to, okay, how is this person's feedback process with this amount of bleed through? Because there's elements of both targets, which tends to happen. But if it's 50-50, I tend to think, okay, what's their feedback process, or how are they going to handle it later? Just, well,
I'll tell you what I do, and that's right, and that's good good advice. At your feedback time, you really need to focus on just that picture, because why are you getting so much of both? You know, why did your sub just pick up the overlap areas rather than action and all the kinds of things which are really in the other picture, you know, if that's it. What I focus on is not only the feedback, but I immediately go to the beacon, and I'll often go back to the person and say, let's talk a little bit more about beacons, because it looks like here you went to this judging session that we're doing right now.
Right, exactly.
And so you really need to strengthen up your beacon approach. And that would be my suggestion here.
I think I definitely need to sort my beacons out.
Yeah.
Can I say something with that? This tends to happen in webinars, because we're talking about judging both photos, and we tend to put a lot of focus on both, and you'll get bleed through just from us discussing it. So don't be discouraged.
That's
we're
right.
Kind of asking questions.
That's exactly right. And everybody should pay a lot of attention to the beacon, if you know what I mean. You know, saying it out loud, sometimes use a chocolate chip cookie. I've used that one, but I tend to put on weight. You take one bite right before your feedback session, knowing that you're going to take another bite at the feedback time. So you take one bite at remote viewing time. That is a beacon which connects up with the other bite, maybe finishing off the cookie at feedback time. That's another kind of beacon. Get clever in making your own beacons. But what you want to do is connect up with the feedback time and ignore this session. You know, it's just like all the other images you see today. And John is very right, though. Right now we're paying an awful lot of attention to it. Okay.
There's one thing I was thinking about was doing my judging using my mobile phone and the actual feedback session just on my main computer. So I'm just thinking about the picture on the main screen rather than on a mobile phone.
That's really good. And you imagine yourself at remote viewing time being in front of your computer, looking at it then, and you move your consciousness there. That's great. Yeah, that's great.
Still hasn't worked for me yet, though.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, let's look at Sean's.
The more you self-judge, it'll work more and more in your favor. Trust me.
Yeah, absolutely. You really do get better at this as time goes on. Okay, let me make this as big as I can. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, okay. So, Sean, you got 1 for A and 5 for B. Oh, and even the A, which is in both, for sure. Okay, so you cross these A's off. And again, you could have done nothing there, and that would have made this count 0 and 4. But I have no objection to doing it this way. It just turns out I don't do it that way, period. But maybe what you did is you looked at A and said, yep, it's hard. Oops, now I'm looking to B, and I can put B there. I understand that totally.
Oh.
So let's see if I agree. Yep, there's some brown in there. Wide panorama. Okay, so you did leave this one blank because you felt it was probably in neither of those. Yeah.
I might judge that as a B, personally.
Yeah, and I was going to say I might give that a half of a B. You know, maybe this is wide. It's not a panorama. So maybe wide, I would give it a B a half. But again, people disagree. And also, remember, it was your session. And the word wide means something different to you than it does to us. So that's perfectly okay, in my opinion. And if I were judging it independently, I might judge it differently. But that doesn't mean that it was wrong in any way whatsoever. Okay, deep. Okay, so you took all of these. Did you get all of these like at once, and that's why you didn't do the individual word, Sean? I'm assuming you'll give me a chat response. Because if I were an independent judge, I would probably do each of those. On the other hand, if they sort of came in as one thing, then you might do it as a B. Is Sean still here? No, Sean left. Okay, well, that's a lesson for the rest of you. You know, and it's your choice. If it came in all at once, you might very well say B. Deep, like looking at a horizon.
Oh, Sean Patterson, he's there at the bottom. He just doesn't have a mic.
Oh, okay. And maybe he can't do a chat either. Oh, there it is. Okay, it was separate. Okay, so I would just recommend doing each of these. Deep, the B, I mean, this is certainly not deep. This definitely has depth to it. Like, now did that mean you liked it or it's like something else? See, only you know, but I would give that something. Maybe you like craps, and maybe that's what like meant. See, I don't know as an independent judge. That's why
He's elaborating on the deep comment. It's deep as in like it has depth, like looking at a horizon or some kind of depth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and that may be what the B was for deep, and I agree. This certainly has depth where this one doesn't. Looking at a horizon. But again, for the educational purposes, these are separate precepts. So, and that's what you acknowledge. So you should judge them independently. Okay. And then hard, they're both hard, that's fine. Someone saying stop doing stuff for other people. Now that's interesting.
I agreed.
Yeah, and I don't know what that means. And this is clearly stop doing stuff. If anything, it might be this guy should stop doing stuff. But you see, that would only have some meaning for you.
Okay.
And I'm assuming
He's writing in the chat box.
Oh, okay.
It's audio. Very interesting.
That is interesting, Sean. Hey, you stay here because sound is so important in many of the targets. Okay. And so I think you didn't put anything here because it just wasn't strong enough. It didn't make any sense, and that's fine. You didn't give either of them. And this says tree or lamp post. And again, no problem. Oh, you did. You gave that a B. So that is for this one, and that's just what I was going to say. This
Maybe
geometry.
Yeah.
Yeah, this geometry definitely looks like, you know, the legs and this, you know, narrow. And that's the end. Okay.
He's right too. I mean, he may not have judged stop doing stuff for other people and white panorama, but he was very good to write it down regardless. Write everything you get, write it down. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely. And we always tell that to everybody, and sometimes there's so much information that you don't, but during self-judging, you might remember something which clearly came in session. And if you remember something that came in session that's relevant, you can write it down and judge it afterwards. You should do that in a way which is clear, you know, put an asterisk next to it or something so that later when you do feedback, you'll remember that you judged this, but it wasn't something you put down the first time. You're really trying to be really clear at the intellectual level when you're doing judging. Okay, very good. Let's go to the next one.
Okay.
But no, if you have something to add, go ahead, John.
Oh, no.
Anybody else too?
I was going to make a comment, but I forget. I forgot what judging scale you were using.
No, this scale is the A, B for now. We haven't gone to TARG.
Right, understood.
Yeah. So all we're talking about are the A's.
I saw a 5, and I was going to be like,
Right. No. Right. Okay. What is this? Okay. Whoever did this.
That's me.
Yeah. Okay. That's Ken. I don't have an attachment.
What?
Well, I mean, you're looking at it. You're seeing what I'm seeing, and I don't see an attachment. So try it again, and we'll go back to
It
you.
might be at the bottom. Is it at the bottom or no? If you scroll down?
No. My attachments always come, you know, underneath. I get them here.
Here,
So
I'll
go ahead,
try it
just do it again, and we get to it. We have a half an hour, so we'll get to it. I figure I want to do feedback too, but okay. Let me go to Joan. Try it again. And here's Joan.
Can I comment real quick on something else real quick?
Sure, of course.
So, on the aspect of writing everything down that you get, while Marty's pulling this up, sometimes the data comes in and it's really surprising. It may not fit what you think the target is. You may get something totally off the wall. You write it down, and guess what? That may be the most pertinent thing that you get in the whole session. So just write it down, and if it doesn't match in judging, that's fine, but it just might. Don't try not to judge when you're viewing. Write everything down and then judge later. You know?
Absolutely. No, the intention is to write. I mean, your consciousness gave it to you. Write it down. I absolutely agree. And sometimes we don't. That was my point. I certainly didn't want to stop people from writing it down. There's the second one. So she did 3 pages in 5 minutes. That's beautiful. Open. Rotate. And that's a third one. I'm hoping it goes here.
I like how Sean gets audio in his sessions. I'm kind of jealous.
Yeah. I get smells occasionally. I've never gotten audio either. So that's great.
Hey, Marty.
But you can work. That's something I'm actually working on. Go ahead. Who's talking?
Can you hear me? This
Yes.
is Ricky in Honolulu, Hawaii. I just emailed you my sketch. Did you get it?
Okay. Let me look.
I sent it to Marty at p-i-a.com.
Right. Right. Well, that's where the last one went, but I didn't get the sketch with it.
I just want to make sure it went.
Okay. This is taking longer to come through, so I probably did get it. There. Okay.
It's just one attachment. That's all. Thank you.
Yep, I've got it. Okay.
Okay,
Let's
thanks.
finish off.
Thank you.
Let's do. Here are Jones, and I think we remember the pictures.
Nice.
A being the dice. Yes, very nice sessions. You got, okay. So you're going for the photo site A based on, what is that, 6A and 3B. Okay. Angled, gray, shiny. Interesting. That's two people who did that. I must be wrong. I'm outvoted. Okay. And again, you're your own judge, and you'll learn by watching this over and over again. Biological is definitely B, definitely B. See, and you left out water. It's just the way beautiful, beautiful. What is that?
Dome
Oh,
shape?
I bet that's dome, meant to be dome shaped. It says doom shaped. Or,
Dome shaped, yes.
yeah, dome shaped, okay.
I do that too. As soon as I start remote viewing, my spelling it just goes out the window.
You can't pay attention to that at all. Spelling doesn't matter. And again, another reason self-judging is good, because you get enough down to know exactly what you meant. What is the most important aspect? Okay, so you've obviously been trained. Concrete, solid, okay.
Well, solid would be AB in my opinion.
Yeah, and big would be B. Wouldn't you think? But maybe to her, big means much bigger than human size, which I can understand also. Okay, I'm at the target. I feel a bit chilly. That's interesting. Didn't mark that though, so it could be for either one. Outdoors is B. Oh, there's your dome. Yeah, here, of course, it doesn't look like A any longer, though it's got lines. Okay, solid. There's your shiny. And
What does the purpose
okay,
say?
I mean, it's great. Great. Okay,
What does it say
I have nothing to add. Do you?
Can you read the on the third page? It says purpose, and then there's something about attraction.
Monumental tourist attraction.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting. And you, if anything, well, Las Vegas with the dice and a show with the fire, so it's a little hard to know. But anyway, that's just the sort of thing you want to do. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let me do...
I really like the probing question that she wrote on the transcript. That was very good.
Yep. And let's just take this and turn it around. I think I got everything. Is there more down below? I think I got...
That's it.
That's good enough? Okay, good.
Yep.
And I go like this. And then I rotate. There you go. Okay, Ken. Oh, I don't see marks on yours, A or B's.
No, it's over top of it. All right.
Oh,
So like,
Okay, go ahead.
Birds.
Talk. Oh, I see. Here's B. I see. B for the.
I said birds. I'd like stuff flying around. And,
Oh, okay. So you got action. Okay, very good. That makes,
right, black, circling.
and that's B.
Hmm.
Oh,
High,
yeah.
Like a high rise or
high
something
rise
high.
windows. Yeah, I do see A and B now. I just didn't see it before. Same color.
Hmm.
I always use a different color. um,
Hmm.
but that's okay. High rise windows. Yeah, yeah. What
Kind of
does
Yes.
this?
like,
What does that say?
that's just, well, I said lake or sand, but that didn't apply to anything.
Right.
Huh?
Very good. You know, can't quarrel. Windows didn't apply. This, the rectangular stuff in both of them.
Hmm.
Okay, excellent.
Well, motion and so birds could be motion. What was your feeling when you wrote down birds? Was it a
It
lot of
was all
times?
those. It was those three things right across the top. The kind of stuff flying around, black and circling. So then I look at that picture B. I think maybe all that stuff is B.
Yeah.
I agree. I thought that was, yeah, I agree. Okay, let's see if we can get Ricky in here, and then we'll go to a final prediction for the group, and then I have to wager, and then we'll do feedback. Only open attachments from a trustworthy. Are you trustworthy? Okay.
I don't know.
There we go. That came up nicely.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so the motion was B, the red is B, the hard. See, I even see plenty of hard stuff in A, but I understand why you did that.
Oh,
Yellow,
that tree again.
was there
Marty,
yellow?
the predominant feeling I had, like as soon as you gave me the number,
Uh-huh.
that's why I drew all those, they look like wavy things.
Yep, yep.
Like the minute you gave us the number, I had this overwhelming almost feeling of whoosh and motion and movement. It was very strong.
Yep. And that's the way you judged it. And in fact, I'd have to say I would even probably put a B here. I mean, he's standing on something which is very hard.
Mm.
So that even further supports it. The dots, yeah, A, and I don't know if there was yellow, probably in B. That's
On
a
the
very
picture,
strong, that's a very strong B for sure.
when you look at the A photo, do you? It looked to me like the dice were in motion at the time as well. So that's kind of a hard one to. Motion is a difficult one to judge between A and B from my
Yeah, take a look at
perspective.
that.
I don't see it that way. I mean, they look like they're in motion a little bit, but not as much as the other picture.
It's interesting. That was my impression as well. But now that John points it out, they're not stable.
No, they're
But
not.
you don't have the same feeling of motion as in the other one.
Yeah,
And that's what the subconscious would pick up.
I'm just saying,
absolutely.
if I put motion on my target, I may list it for both and maybe put it as a neutral because you
Right.
see it in both.
And I understand that. I totally understand that. And different judges would do it different ways. Period. But especially when you do self-judging, his strong feeling of that kind of motion and a bird, I mean, hell, it's going around. No, that's really good.
That
Okay,
sort of
let me see if I can.
brings the question how much. So we're supposed to be analytical, as well as a little bit feeling, but analytical when we judge. And if we
Right, right.
So, Marty, what score would you have given my picture?
The pictures only? Yeah, the
The
whole thing.
sketch.
Let's talk about that now.
And by the way, those little squiggly things on the bottom, when I was seeing a visual, because I actually got a visual, I couldn't tell if they were dots or crabs, and I only drew a few of them, but I saw a whole bunch of them.
Okay. Okay.
I didn't know what they were, but
you listed dots, which is very interesting.
I listed crabs and dots because and with a question mark, because I just wasn't sure.
Oh, where is he?
Where are you going, Marty?
Wait, I received 2 phone calls from one of my Precog professionals, and so I just wanted to let them know I was in a webinar, but let's not do that. Okay, let's go ahead and now go to the next
You
step.
got the wrong you got the wrong picture up there. Or where are we going now?
No, I'm going to show you what we're going to do now.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
Thank
what
you.
we're doing now
Thank you.
is, no, thank you. That was very good. I guess I never got anything from Jocelyn. So, okay, so here we are. And in the, here where we have to do our final judging, now what we're talking about is how do we turn this into confidence rankings. And let me just show you that. This is the technique we use in the winning entanglements protocol that we've been doing here online. It's a TAR confidence scale, which goes between 0 and 7. 0 is no correspondence, which is actually difficult. Usually there's something on the page which you can give us a little credit for. Little correspondence. And then 2, you kind of learn by experience. It's sort of random. You know, there are going to be some matches between your transcript and almost any picture. But if it's random stuff, if all you got was one color, all you got maybe was something which was, you judge it, yeah, it matches, but, you know, not real strong. That level, you don't feel comfortable that you made psychic contact. That's a 2. 3, for the first time, you believe you made some psychic contact. You have a mixture of correct and incorrect elements, but enough of the correct ones that you feel you made contact with the target. That's a 3. A 4 is now we feel really comfortable, good correspondence. Here we said, yeah, we made contact, okay, but here we have really good contact. You know, we saw some examples of that. It could be with either target, but it's a good correspondence with several, not just one, not just 2, several matchable elements intermixed with some incorrect information. Now, what we have established is 3.5. When we first did this, we forced people to do integrals, like here. It was like too hard. Oh, it's somewhere between a 3 and a 4 or a 4 and a 5. We've made 3.5 wagerable. In other words, here you said, yeah, I made some psychic contact. Here it's really good. 3.5 is enough that I'm willing to wager a few bucks. Okay, so that's our line. You have to have a line where you say it's now wagerable. Otherwise, if you're less than that, you pass on that match. And if you get both of them below that, and I noticed someone had a small number of, you pass. Nothing wrong with passes. A 5 now, so a 4 is good. A 5 is very good because Russell Targ brought in these new words: unambiguous, unique, matchable elements. So these are things that are just undeniably strong for this target. The rectangles, for example, are in lots of targets. So, you know, that's a match, but is it unique enough? I don't know. The motion, I don't know. But you put motion, you put rectangles, you put people, you start putting these things together, and now you say, yeah, this is unambiguous, unique, matchable elements. It gets to be just strong enough that you know you were there, okay? You know you were there. That's what a 5 is. 6, and I am no longer consider 6 and 7 to be that much better than a 5. A 5 is really good. What happens with the 6 and 7, you start getting this analytical information, AOLs, match, and but you still have, you might name it, you might name the function. 7 is right on, no incorrect information. The 6, you have some incorrect information. So that's the meaning of the 0 to 7. 3.5 wagerable, 4 good, 5 very good, 6 and 7 extraordinarily good, because you're tapping into correctly your left side of your brain. You know, it's like it just happens, and AOLs are all about that. But 5, 6, and 7 are just excellent. Okay, so that's the TARG scale. Here is where we are. So now we have to convert, and each of you would have to convert this into a TARG scale. Now, how should you do that? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Is there an exact way of doing it? I don't think there's an exact way of doing it. I do think when you have twice as many, that's a strong B. I would put that. Also, looking at that one, I might, and let's just, and this is my judgment. Remember, all of you are going to have to do that, but I would give that a 5. But that's, now, CR, notice that's a 5 on the A side. So that's CR for A was his 5. And let's do CR for B, because I see a strong one here, which had a strong count on the B side. Unfortunately, I just don't remember that. We can go back and look, but let's not do that. Let me give that a 4. I mean, here you can see, I'm not going to do the mathematics, but here I can see, you know, this ratio, you know, this is 2 to 1. Here we don't quite have that. But here we have a 5 and a 1. So maybe I'll give that a 5. I'm not doing this as carefully as I would like. Here's a 4 and a 2. You know, you see what I'm doing here, John. Here we got some more, yeah, pretty good ones. 4, 4. Just looking at the differences, you know, this is dominating. This one is reasonably close. In fact, I'm going to give this one a 3.5. Just looking at the numbers, not the transcript. So this isn't as good as I'd like. This is a pass. So I'm going to give it a 2. I'm going to say that one is random. I'm going to give this a 3.5. And I'm going to give this over here a 4 and a 2. Let's give that a 4 since I did it over here. Okay, so in terms of the CR scale, here we are. You know, you look at this, and even though we had a very strong one here, as a group manager, I have to make a judgment, and especially since I'm going to be wagering, this is hard, frankly, because this one was darn strong. But nevertheless, as a group, I am going to go to B. So prediction is B. On this side, you know, because these all went the other way, I'm going to say this was probably wagerable. And over here, I'm going to make, well, a 5 and a 4. I'm going to go 4.5. And frankly, okay, so I gave you my logic. These were, this one in particular, even more than this one, was pretty strong. And so I just feel like if all I had was that information, I would make it wagerable. And then this is a 4.5. The group manager role involves all of that kind of thinking. Your personal role would have been much easier. Here, she would wager, you know, if she was at the roulette table, she would go with A and he would go with B. But overall, I'm going with B. So you would personally put in your personal ones here, and I made this one 3.5. I think I said 4.5. So, and then you put in comments, which all become part webinar for roulette training for ARV using we. And again, you know, the judging was the hard part in a way, making all those decisions. But then you have to put it into the TARG scale format, and then you hit submit. So the online protocol itself is simple. And now I do submit, and your personal prediction is black, green with photo side B. Now remember, red was the question which was asked, will red be the winning wager? And A is always yes, and B is always no. Everything else is random except that. So A is yes, B is no. So it says I should wager on black, green. Hey, we have a prediction. So these things always take a little longer. Okay, so let's now go. And in fact, so that's the one that won. I'm going to put that over here. Okay, now let us, we did that. Let us now wager. I have a website that I use for sports that also happens to have a roulette wheel on it, and it's called bookmaker.eu. And I get on here. And it's the casino. And I think it's under table games. Yep. And here's roulette. And online it actually has single zero, which is better than you get in Vegas. But that's the equivalent of Monte Carlo. Okay, it doesn't usually take this long. Let's see what's happening here. Let me go back. Okay, let me try it again. There we go. I think of all the games, this is the one which has the best odds, but I don't believe they've turned it off. So I don't know what's going on here. That's not a pretty picture. Let's just try to reload that page. Interesting. And notice it's a different page. It looks different. Down, the roulette was down here now. So let's see. I suppose now I can go to my casino. Let's try table games. Okay, no, there it is. Wow. My screen, I just had to use there. Okay, we're here. I'm playing with real money. And here we are. So I think most of you know roulette, but 50-50 wagers or red-black, 1 to 18, 19 to 32, even or odd. We obviously did red and black, and I'm going to do $5 on black. Okay? And as soon as I hit spin, it'll spin. So we're going to do spin. You'll get to see it. I actually hear it. You can't hear it, as it turns out, but it's now spinning. You can see it up here. Ah. Well, there you go. That's the winner is red. I have much more fun when it's a winner. On the other hand, we almost always have people on both sides. And very often, you heard my reaction, very often you will get feedback, and in a way, that is the beginning of the feedback session. You know, you're not doing a formal session with the transcript in front of you, as we're about to do. That's the last part of this webinar. But, you know, it's a sports game. You might be watching it or hearing it, or it might be a financial wager, and you usually find out about it, or not usually, but often will find out about it before you get formal feedback. Now, let me show you how you get formal feedback. And you're about to see now what a group manager does. So I think I still have. So you do not have to worry about this part, but we just got a miss, right? You all understand that. It landed on 1 red. Right. Okay, what I'm going to do, I think I'll just use this one, is I'm going to open up. Now remember, this is just for the group managers. This is coded so they can do the tasking, which is what I did when we did that. The next thing, and I could have done this before, but it doesn't matter, we'll make it right, is the prediction. And we predicted, here we go. We predicted, this is the one we're doing. Oh, I have a lot of these open. Again, you don't have to worry about this. This is all group manager stuff. Okay. And remember, I put in the 3.5 and the 4.5, and all of that together led to side 2. So I just want you to see this to show what a group manager, you know, you're in groups, he would see that side 2 was the prediction from only one person, so he would clearly go for side 2, webinar workshop, and side 2, webinar workshop. Okay, what this did was put out in email. Let me show you that, because that should come up pretty quickly. Okay, so I was the group manager. I just put in the prediction that we had done, which normally I would do right after I found out it was black, but we went and did the wagering first, but doesn't matter. And here it says black, green, side 2. So for a sports wager, it would indicate over, under, and you could go wager on it. So everybody in the group gets the benefit of the prediction. And so this is an example of that, and it said black and green. Then the next thing that happens is the group manager goes back, since the group manager also knows what the outcome of the event was, whether it's sports or financial or roulette. So we go back now and go to step 3, right? Step 1 was the tasking. Step 2 is the group prediction. And then the group manager shares with everybody the outcome, which then is going to lead to the feedback. So this is the we protocol, and we just want to choose the group here because there are lots of different groups. So we choose webinar workshop. And now we have to say what happened. Now, remember, this is group manager. You don't have to do that. It says the prediction was side 2. Side 2 was black and green, but what actually happened was side 1, which was red. So spin led to number 1 red. This is a miss, and then I usually say something. Do your feedback session and lots to learn from hits, misses, and passes. I'll always say something like that. Notice I write it down there. This is the group manager. I click here. I get group manager stuff, but now I can go back here. And this is what you, as the remote viewer, would see. Feedback. It says the winning side was red, side 1. And here's where I wrote the spin. Well, that should be led to number 1 red. This is a miss. So all the stuff that I wrote comes out here. And then again, here is your link. So from the standpoint of what you have to do, it's all very simple. We're now about to click on here. And remember, all of us use the same coordinate under my name. So we're only going to see 1, but now we'll go here. And of course, this goes to the whole group, so everybody has to put in their own email address, and you have to type it correctly. Too often we have problems with someone makes a mistype, and of course then the server doesn't know how to match you up. But this is what I put in here, and then I go there, and there you go. There is your feedback for 962634. Okay, and that's because we went with black, but red was correct. So now you get out your transcript, and it's going to be very interesting. I want you to judge them again. Let me make that bigger. Judge them again. I wonder if I got rid of a lot of them, which might have been a mistake. Let me see if I have any left. I got rid of it. Sometimes I can have too many things open and I crash. So go over your transcript now. Oh, I can get one from the inbox. First, let's do miss. The hits are easy. But I know Joan got a hit and someone else got a hit. Man, you should be shouting, hey, yippee, yippee-yi-yay. And then you go to your transcript, and I recommend writing over the coordinate because it's a beacon, all that work for you. Circle the really good stuff, really get into how well you did, and give your subconscious and your communication channel an attaboy or attagirl. I don't know what the sex of a communication channel is. But you know what I'm getting. Feel really good about it. And then even do something else. I recommend this no matter what. Add a little bit that you say, you know what? Yeah, this was good. I'm happy with this. And I could have done a little more. And then work on something. Add a little something that you wish you had done. Now let's see if we can find a miss one here. I want to go here. So this was probably Sean was the biggest miss. So let's look at Sean's as an example. You don't mind that, do you, Sean? Oops. Oh, that's Shane. Where was Sean? Down here. And I'll just open it up again. There we go. Okay, Sean, let's look at yours now, and let's look at it at the same time we look at the feedback photo, which is what each of you should be doing now. Okay, so now we go over it, and we remember, and you might even want to bring up the other one. I don't like to emphasize it, but sometimes people do, because the first thing you want to ask is, did I judge this correctly? Did I miss something? And surprisingly, you're going to find out how often you did, where your subconscious was giving you a lot of information, but sometimes not. So let's look here and let's see. Certainly I don't see any brown here, and there was a lot of brown there. This was a neutral. Deep. I remember this one. He only did one. Like, didn't know, looking. Even deep was sort of marginal, but okay. I mean, I wouldn't say that was wrong. And I don't know if you like craps, but and I don't see horizon, so I wouldn't say much. Hard, you gave both. Can't quarrel with that. Stop doing stuff for other people. I don't know. You might now say, oh, I know what my sub was trying to tell me, or not. So I don't know, but this is the time you think like that. You try to say, oh, maybe my sub was trying to tell me something. I don't see the long, unless maybe it was going along this edge, but I'm pushing that a little bit. Okay, though for a while you thought maybe that should have been A. I don't know, because of the lines. But I would look at this and say, okay, my judging wasn't that bad. So I wonder what else was going on. And that's where you immediately get maybe to a beacon. Like, I don't see a coordinate on here. Maybe you didn't do it. Was it above? How strong was, and you have to remember back now, was my intent really strong enough to do just this picture, forgetting everything that happens in between? Hey, when we do sports events, you have to wait a couple of days until you get the outcome. When we do financials, some people are doing financials a week away. You know how many images you see? Your focus is on the feedback, with this being one of what might be several beacons that you might want to use. You know, the coordinate is always a beacon, but then you might want to add a cookie or a smell, a texture, which you do at both remote viewing time and feedback time. So each of you really do that now, and I'd like to hear back some of the others.
Can I add to that, Martin?
Yeah, please do. Yeah, I don't know what your score. Oh, you.
So with his last session, it looks like displacement, and it makes me wonder. When we were judging, did Photosite B excite you? You know, did you have more interest in it, or how much? So really, the idea is the more focus you place on your feedback target. So the dice is what the actual outcome is. Really dive into that feedback. Make it really interesting. You know why? I mean, right now, and believe it or not, the more interesting you make it right now at this moment, the better your viewing is going to be. You know, earlier in the day. It sounds crazy. That's just how it works. If you really focus on these dice right now, what's interesting about it. It looks like little pearl texture. You know, it has little glistening. They are shiny, and it's not just plain white. You know, it has little, you know, it has like a pearl inlay to it, and it looks like they're in motion, and they have their corners shaped. And the more interesting you can make this photo, the better your remote viewing is going to be before you see it. So this is your feedback. Don't even think about that photo site B at this moment. Like, it should be completely out of your mind, and then that'll help a great deal moving forward. And displacement happens to everybody. I'm not. It's totally normal. Just this is how to overcome it. You know, focus very intently on what we have in front of us right now.
You see, that's what the precognition is all about, is entangling the information with your remote viewing session. So how do you do that? You light it up. You make it interesting. You make it exciting. You make it anything you can to have your remote viewing session entangle with it. You send the information back. Look at all the circles that are there. You know how I said you should put something that you didn't put on your page? You should put circles, maybe organized circles, maybe 3 in a row like the 3. You know, there are a lot of those, but there are a lot of circles in there. You know, some people had rectangles, but they didn't have circles. Imagine if you had rectangles and circles on your page. That would lean to this one, correct? You know, I'm inclined to also look at the fact, you know, a lot of dice are perfectly square, but I'm looking at this geometry right here, and to me that's actually quite interesting with it being bright. Imagine if you had drawn something like that shape, you know, not exactly, something like it, using your remote viewing sessions, and had next to it said light. You know, in fact, what does this say? Tree or lamp post? Does it really say that? I think so. You look at that? You know what? You might have gotten what I just said right now.
Oh, yeah, I see it in the shape. Yeah, I see it.
You know, this is we're in totally cutting edge, mysterious. If anybody tells you they understand it exactly, walk away from them ground. This is all mysterious. And what I just said could be happening. I mean, I have just focused us on this, all of us, right? And look what you put here. No, that's not exactly the same. And then you said tree or lamp post. And I emphasized, look how light this is. Why not put this shape and say light? And you came pretty darn close to that. So I think this is an excellent example of what happens at feedback time goes back to remote viewing time. It's not like what happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. This is not the case. You're doing exactly the opposite. What happens at feedback time during your feedback session goes back to your remote viewing session. And in fact, that's your task at remote viewing session, is to pick that up and bring it from the subconscious, which is where that translation goes, is happening from the subconscious to your conscious mind. Oh, that's really interesting.
Just to drive it home a little more, when we're doing feedback, I take out another sheet of paper and I write down, like we're looking at the dice right now, I write down the elements that I see right now. It's right in front of me. And I write down here's the target number, and here is the relevant data for that target number, and believe it or not, that information will go back in time to when you remote viewed the first time. So the better you get at your feedback, the better your remote viewing is going to be, seriously.
Yep. I totally echo that. Okay. Any comments, questions on that? Get that deeply, not just intellectually. You know, all we can do is talk intellectually. You got to get that deep in your gut, in your psyche, that this precognition thing is natural, and you can do it, and you just have to almost give yourself permission to allow this backward flow of information is one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is there's an eternal now. The information is just out there, it's always been out there. It's out there in a matrix. Ingo Swann called it a matrix. All that is, I like to call it the universe of collective consciousness that has all conscious moments, past, present, and future. So this moment is in there. Has always been in there, was in there at remote viewing time. The key is how much entanglement do you have between those? And that entanglement is made right now. The feedback session with intention and expectation is making it with the remote viewing session. We just can't overemphasize that, but you need to get that deep in your gut, because that is where the remote viewing is and feedback is going on. Okay, so we did the wagering. Just summarizing again, the feedback session is where precognition begins, when you know the answer. And there is a backward flow of time, it seems that way, from the truth. This is when you know the truth. And feedback is really necessary, or how else do you know if your prediction was correct, a hit or a miss? There are a lot of people who make predictions, and notice a lot of them will never tell you how they did. They don't keep records. That is not precognition. We want to know how good you are. You have to have feedback, or you can't do any evaluation. And these feedback sessions are just all important. This is where the learning comes on. This is where the depth is. This is where your communication channel opens and gets wider and wider, where this communication from the matrix, whatever, and which is connected to the submerged consciousness, then to your conscious mind. This is the way it just seems to be, you know, and we've got an awful lot of experience with this now, and this is the model that fits the facts of the reality of precognition.
On that note, can I comment on that note you just said?
Sure, of course.
The reason we know to focus on feedback is because so many of us have had displacement and sessions that were misses, and just tons and tons and tons of self-evaluation from seeming failures. But if you learn from it, it's not a failure. But we've had so many misses and so many displacements and so many passes that we now understand. The more we focus on feedback, I mean, session mechanics are very important as well, but the feedback is so very important. And we know that now, and that's sort of why we're telling you this, not because we're like the best viewers in the world. It's because we have enough experience to know how valuable it is, and it comes from our own failures. So it's okay. Just, you know, that's where we get our data.
Okay, let me leave you with this thought. Beliefs about all of this, including how good am I? You're going to go, you know, when you get a miss, it's so easy to say and quit. And we see a lot of people quit, and there's no reason to, but they quit, I can't do this, and stuff like that. And your feelings, getting over a miss. You know, it's interesting. For some reason, I'm talking about the negatives right now, because it's what causes people to stop. I frankly believe everybody can get, maybe not the Carnegie Hall, but they can get very good at this. We've seen too many people who stay with it get better and better. And, you know, it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in a week. It happens by just doing it over and over. Now, there are some people who are naturals, absolutely. But then there are some people who just simply, by doing it, they learn. They're telling their subconscious they want to learn, and they do. this communication channel is something which can be opened up, just like you can learn to be better at the violin. You can learn to be better at sports. How do you learn? You do it. And I like to say practice, 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 you know, like a doctor, lawyer, and a shaman. You just get better at it, and be optimistic. This is a wonderful quote from Winston Churchill. For myself, I am an optimist. It does not seem to be much use being anything else. And that ought to be, again, deep in your gut. I can do this precognition, and I can get better and better at it. And there's so many different aspects of it. I can get better at colors. I can get better at motion. Those of us who can't hear noises, we can learn how to hear noises. This is working with yourself. It's rather amazing and rather marvelous. Okay, any final questions? I think it's time to wrap it up, but I'm open to questions, comments, suggestions, anything at this point. Okay. Well, I thank you all for coming, and those of you who are not in any of our existing groups, and you may not even be in our general discussion group, just email me, and I'll have, Julie is the one who takes care of that. I'll just forward it to her and have her put you in a group. And just let me know if you want a sports group or a financial group, or just in the general discussion group and you're not ready to do it. But I'm just going to tell you, with what you did today, you're all ready to go into a group. And it turns out the CARV group is the group where I do, it's really for the newbies, and I do a little bit more educational stuff in there rather than letting people just simply get their experience, which the other groups really focuses on. Okay, thank you all. I will end this now, and then I will put the link on in the future. Let's see, there we go. Okay, all of you take care and do keep precogging.